live stream day, live stream Thursday.
Live stream Thursday. And I put a LinkedIn post up about how like Halloween on Monday created a weird time space continuum in the week to where I didn't know what day it was.
Yes.
Until I realized it was live stream day and then like Thursday. Got it. I'm back.
If you had a weirdness in the time space continuum because of Halloween happening on a school day, I guess you could say, you can chat that in because we've got solidarity with you.
And the funny hop in our family on Halloween, my husband is in charge of dentist appointments. He loves going to the dentist. It's his thing. And he loves taking our kids and he's cultivated really good habits around it with our kids.
Yeah.
But he scheduled an 8 a.m. appointment the Tuesday, the morning after Halloween.
That's crazy.
Where I was like, that's a triple whammy in so many ways because we have 3 kids, Halloween, out late, 10 quadruple whammy to go to the dentist. So it's just, that was the weirdness happening in the Watson house this week. But
we are bringing all of this energy to you for this week's live stream. And I'm Blair Bloomston. I am the CEO of Game On Nation. I'm with
I am Erin Watson. I'm the Director of Client Experience here at Game On Nation.
Yeah.
So what we do at Game On, we are a leadership and communication firm. We work with companies, sports teams, military, nonprofit, and we just love being out in the community, working with people on how to improve culture through good teamwork, good communication, and just being and doing good.
And this live stream is a chance for us to be really real as you can be, standing next to each other, talking to you through the camera, but to bring that communication to life.
Yeah. And give you some good to do practices around some of the things that we do and teach here at Game On. Mm-hmm. And you're joining us in a pretty cool season right now because we have Blair really spearheaded this project of relaunching our website.
I'll take it.
She's become like the IT queen, the website queen.
Special skills you wouldn't think I possess, but yet
self-taught. It's amazing. And launched our new website where we have all of our programming outlined. And if you've been joining on the live streams, we've been walking through our Game On programs.
Yeah.
So this week, Steve wrote a blog and sent it out. If you're not on our newsletter, make sure you subscribe to that and get these helpful check-ins every week from Steve. But we're talking about our SPOT framework here at Game On. So I'll turn it over to Blair and let her walk through what is SPOT.
Yeah. So as part of our work, we teach. We go out, we teach in all different kinds of venues and formats. And we have a fantastic team of all different types of personalities and backgrounds who teach the Game On content. But we needed a spine. We needed some great unifying force to make sure that we're all, reading the book from the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because consistency matters. And when we're going out and working with clients and sending different consultants out, there's, the standard of expectation that we always want to hit.
Yeah. We like, Steve's background, my background is in performance, right? Like I performed off Broadway and, it's like when the next cast member joins, you don't want an interruption in the flow. And you also want that cast member to share their own story, share their own style. So that's how we approach training and facilitation in Game On. And SPOT is how we do it. So it stands for 4 components: how we set up an exercise, present, observe, and take away. And there's some even deeper meaning, Erin, that I know you'll unpack for us on each one of those angles. But for those of you who are watching who are like, how do they do what they do? It's because we follow this roadmap every time.
Yeah. So we're going to break it down, this little conversation, into 4 segments. And as much as possible, we want to give you some good to-dos, some things to think about, and sometimes when we talk about presenting, I think everyone goes to like their TED Talk moment of 300 people in a room or a high stakes meeting or whatever that might look like. This is a presentation.
Yeah.
Me walking into the office and interacting with my coworker is a presentation.
Yes.
And how I do that intentionally. So every moment, every interaction that you have is a presentation in a way. Some might require a little more intentionality than others, but you probably do some of this stuff organically, whether you know it or not. And so we want to make sure you have some practical techniques that everyday conversations can be spotted, if you will.
Yeah.
So let's start with setup. So I think these kind of have, dual meanings to them. So first setup moment is, how do you set up individually? What are some of your rhythms as you set it? You just taught a really cool session. You want to share? Yeah, go for it.
So I had the chance to be at Kennedy Space Center 2 days ago, working with one of NASA's deep space logistics teams for the Mars Gateway project. pinch me.
So
yeah.
good.
And can I say, in the middle of that training half day, actually, a Falcon rocket launched. There was a launch on
Excuse me, I'm done teaching Game On right now. Let's go watch a rocket.
It was like we're halfway through this set. Let's take a 30-minute break.
So
and
good.
we heard 2 sonic booms. It was
That's
way
awesome.
cool. But okay, so
how do you personally
prepare for something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's deeper than just like having your outfit laid out the night before, like the first day of school, which I also do incidentally at the hotel. For me, it's a little bit of inner work.
Okay.
As our colleague Jason Martinez talks about a lot. It's the chance to remember that it's not about me. Right. I really do think of myself as a guide, as the Obi-Wan. I don't know if my participants are going to choose the light side or the dark side of the Force, hopefully the light side. Right. But I am remembering and doing some work to think, okay, everything I've done up to this moment has prepared me for this moment.
Sure.
And now it's not about me. It's about giving to those people in the room who I haven't met yet. Right. They're all kind of strangers as we get started. Yeah. Yeah. So that's part of my setup. How do you personally prepare, Erin?
I'm newer to Game On than you are. So I like to run through my set list several times. I kind of tell myself stories. If you catch me in either whether it's a hotel room or here in Bradenton at my house, you'll see me having like internal dialogue with myself as I'm doing my makeup or whatever it may be. And, you mentioned laying out your outfit the day before. That sounds like a minor setup piece, but that level of preparedness removes a stressor.
So,
because I think we've all been in that situation where like the zipper broke or something horrible like that happens, but you've got it set up, you've got it planned, you've got it ready. And I think that matters in how we set up. I think for me personally, my setup steps are simply to reduce my stress to where I can focus on what I need to focus on, which is how I'm going to connect with others.
Yeah.
So if I remove some of those thought processes, I Google how long it's going to take me to get to the destination and add 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Little pieces like that really matter. So the inner work, absolutely kind of walk through my presentation, come up with some stories I want to add in based on the audience I'm presenting to, making sure I have my slides where they need to be, making sure I have my tech where it needs to be. So that's some of the things that help me feel more prepared as I walk into a presentation.
So you know what we should do? We should do this now for just our regular Thursday work day.
Absolutely.
Because if we're talking about the idea that you're always presenting, every conversation is a chance to make an impact on somebody else. One of the things that I like to do on my way into the office, and I'm very fortunate, I have a pretty short commute. It's about 18 minutes from door to door. I'll do one of two things. I will either listen to some sort of inspirational like podcast or YouTube video just for those few minutes to hear somebody else's take on, and it's always glass half full stuff for me. I'm never like the practicality of stoicism, and I do like that stuff, but not on my way in.
Right. Time, place, and manner.
Exactly. Or I'll listen to just some music that I can't help but bop around to.
That's good.
Yeah. And that's kind of my setup to like bring good into this workplace, no matter what's going on, when I leave the house.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we honor how other people like to set up for presentation. So something I think about is before I've gone on to teach, there might be a networking moment happening before that. I prefer some solitude to kind of stand and mentally prepare myself. So if you see someone who's about to present kind of in the zone, allowing them that time and space, I think really matters. Or, if Blair's getting ready to teach a virtual session, I'm not going to bother her in the hour before because I want to make sure that she's got her time to get centered and zoned in as much as possible. So for you, that might be drawing those boundaries on your calendar. Give yourself an hour before a meeting to do the prep work that needs to be done if you have that time. Give yourself the time after a meeting as well. And we'll get back to that towards the end of this as we talk about the tie back. But, build in meaningful time for yourself to prepare in a way that makes you feel confident, comfortable, and be able to present with clarity.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's like getting rid of the distractions is a worthy part of the lift. And I think it's the thing people forget most often.
It's true.
They'll go back to back and won't even give themselves 15 minutes. We always recommend 30 as a minimum. If you can get to an hour.
You can do it.
Zen.
Especially before a high stakes meeting, big presentation, things like that.
Yeah.
So something we focused on a lot, if you're a client with Game On, we focus a lot on our room setup.
You do. You've gotten the seating diagrams.
You know. You get the you get that intentional seating diagram. There's a reason for it. So go on and tell us a little bit about what the intentionality behind that is. Why do we want our chairs set up just so? Why do we want the room set up just so? What makes the difference?
Well, this NASA session was a great example. So I was at the Kennedy Learning Institute Center. It's a really cool property in the facility. And they had it kind of set up like a collegiate classroom, I would imagine. There was like some rake and different levels and tables and chairs. And I know professionals love our tables. We love it. We love where we can have a notepad and stuff like that. However, spatially, there's like a divide between the instructor and the action at the front of the room and those participants. So we prefer when we can be table free. And when we can have our room set up like an arc too, even that is so interesting. Rows flat across toward the stage, like you have to change your body versus the seating directing everybody's focus and energy and attention toward a central point. So these are some of the things we fight for.
We do. And, you know, things that if they're within the boundaries of control, I kind of gave a lighthearted story about my husband and the 8 a.m. dentist appointment after Halloween.
Yeah.
But think about how that translates into a work context, not the meeting itself, but scheduling a 4 o'clock meeting on a Friday when it doesn't have to be there.
Yeah.
That setup matters because you're going to have people who are just
over it.
It's 4 o'clock on a Friday or 8 a.m. on a Monday.
Yeah.
What does that look like for people? So when you have control of it, acknowledging that that's not always reality, when can you control the time of something happening and from a setup perspective? Is it best to do the meeting at 8 a.m.? Is it best to do it at 10? Is it best to not do meetings on a Friday? So that setup piece matters. The configuration of the room matters. And the reason it matters is the intentionality around people. Think about how people feel taken care of if you've taken their schedule into account.
Oh, yeah.
Or thought about how the room will make them more comfortable or better able to participate. So those accommodations make a really big difference, in my opinion.
You know, one of the classes that we have really launched this year that's taken off for a lot of our federal clients is best practices in hybrid facilitation. So you talk about setup.
Yeah, that's intention in
action.
Yeah.
And when it goes well, it is so nice. And when it doesn't go well, I have all empathy. You know, we're in it too.
Yeah.
But just creating space for setup, both for your own personal excellence and then for the environment and for others. That's where we start.
Absolutely. Because the end goal is always how can we best serve others? So in the next phase, we talk about the presentation itself. So how are we presenting in excellence, but how are we presenting with creativity? So what are some different ways that we can think about the present piece of this?
Okay. This is a very tactical good to do. All right. If you are the type of person who scripts out your entire presentation, I'm not going to stop you from that. That's great. Write down every sentence you visualize saying, but then know that it's not going to go according to script. It's really not. So my encouragement to keep it playful and light and creative is to take then either the bullet points or if you can really lean it down, just the word, right? Like if you know that you're going to open with a story about your family, right? And you can give yourself a guide, have a sheet in front of you to refer to, but just a note that says family story. Then you don't have to like crush your own expectations of yourself. Oh man, I didn't drop that line about my uncle. Man, I missed it. The audience will never know. And so you can kind of make it easier on yourself, present with that creativity when you have guardrails, but not a full, you know, novella.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's such good guidance and advice. So before I joined Game On, I used to run the Florida High School mock trial program. And you'd see these kids doing like an opening statement, closing argument, and you could see their face like they'd forgotten.
I'm going to, well, this is why you have to present with creativity.
And you know what? Things like this happen. As many times as you might mitigate in your setup, your tech issues, if you might test it ahead of time, run your speed test, hardwire in, be on the Wi-Fi, sometimes it doesn't work. Those are things outside of our control.
Electromagnetic pulses are currently beyond our control. Yes.
And so you just have to like let it go at some point. Something that, and this is in the present piece, let's say your technology does go wrong. Let's say a video won't play in a live session or something like that. The more you harp on the fact that the technology didn't work, the more you're going to lose your audience. Right? I think we've all been in that meeting where someone's like, am I on? Is the tech working? Is my video coming in clear? And you're like, all I can think about is your video not coming in clear.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what you're here to talk about.
Yeah.
That's been my experience, at least, to like, no, just talk about the thing, move on from the tech. It's going to be okay.
And listen, this is why having an SPOT steps as like the one thing we always remember helps, because otherwise you can get into a tangent of realness.
Yeah.
But when we remember, oh yeah, we have stuff, we have a plan we got to cover. And we are literally presenting with creativity right now. That's how we run the live streams too.
Absolutely.
We have a starting block, but we've gotten to the point where this is truly live.
And as you can tell, but we don't have a script we're following. We're just kind of riffing with it. And I think, you know, in this context, that really makes sense. Our takeaway from this is to hopefully provide some uplifting, tangible moments in your day. So it looks like our tech's back.
I think we're here.
What I was getting at with the mock trial piece is the only reason I knew something didn't go right was because the reaction. If they had just walked in and owned it, it would have felt really, really good because only you know what you're going to say.
Yeah. So
if you forget something or you move past something too quickly, that's okay. Own that and present with confidence and just know that you know what you want to say.
That understanding that the audience doesn't know what you left out is really key. And this is something that I studied a lot because I went to college for theater, right? I sometimes joke that I have a degree in jazz hands. They're very effective.
They're very good jazz hands.
I have business acumen too.
Jazz hands.
Yes. But when you have a line in a true script, like a play that you're in, there's often a sense of like, oh, can I recreate that laugh the next night? It's often about a laugh. You know, can I hit that beat? Can I hit that laugh? And one of the first things that the professors tell you, and you have to do it to figure it out, is if you ask for the laugh, you'll never get it.
Oh, that's good advice.
But if instead, you know, the line is, can I have that cup of tea? You just sincerely ask for the cup of tea, you'll probably get the laugh.
Oh, that's good.
So you can't really plan it or stage it or ham it up. I mean, that's what TikTok cringe is all about.
Yeah,
like
true.
No
Trying
cringiness. Yeah, don't try too hard. Yeah, but be free. Allow authenticity to come through when you present.
Good. And I think, you know, in Steve's post too, he talked about presenting with creativity. When you have the opportunity to go outside the box, step outside the norm to make something a little bit more memorable. Today, for example, we have a standard operating meeting that happens. Standard operating meeting, our weekly huddle, which has not been weekly because we've been busy.
Yeah.
But today we started it off with a game.
Oh,
and we don't usually do that. No. And it made a difference in how I remembered today's meeting.
Yeah.
So there was a creativity moment that happened that made it really engaging and fun. And we walked into the meeting uplifted. So when you have an opportunity in a presentation to turn it over to the audience, to make it interactive, to bring joy and laughter, no one ever left a meeting and was like, man, they were trying to do that was funny.
Right.
You know, and we're mad about it. Like, no, I want to leave being like, oh, I learned something and I had a good time.
Listen,
I like that.
I'm going to shout out somebody right now. One of my all-time favorite meetings in 18 years of this career was with a good friend at Hilton. And she happened to have all women on this creative team. And we all flew up to Memphis. And we like met in the boardroom, got our snacks, got our seats. She's like, okay, we're going to get started. She sent us all out of the room. We were like, what is going on? And she handed us all flashlights. And we were like, oh, what is going on? And then we came back in the boardroom. All the lights were off and we all put our flashlights on our face.
Oh, how funny.
And she started it like a sorority induction or just for 5 minutes. And we laughed and everybody got a hat.
That's good.
It's kind of sealed the energy.
Yeah.
It let us start in a way that wasn't just an agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
So present with creativity, find those moments. It builds connection, it builds camaraderie, and it can add a little bit to your culture and just make it a little bit more fun. So the next one is a big one and it requires a little agility. So let's talk about the observe of spot. So we've been through setup, present, and now we're in the observe moment. So I'll turn it over to you.
So what we want to do is as the presentation is going on, even as the conversation is happening, we want to observe ourselves and observe the others who we're talking to with clarity, right? The easiest way to describe this is the ability to be aware of what you see and hear. Like almost, I don't know, to be so dropped in, to not be thinking about what's for dinner that night or the joke that you forgot to tell or did my shirt come untucked, but just to be so present with the other person and to be like, I can see right now, we're making eye contact. Yeah. You know, Erin's nodding at me. She might be into what I'm saying. Like, you know, I'm like talking and words are coming out, but I'm noting that my volume got louder. So it's that ability to be self-aware, audience aware, and then with that awareness to kind of stay the course.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
Know that you don't have to like make a radical change. Once you gain the awareness, it's going fine, but use that to make slight angles or adjustments.
Yeah. And I think it's something that people forget during a presentation or something, that it's okay to stop and make those observations aloud. Yes. You know what I mean? It's okay. You don't have to, it's not confrontational. It's not combative or anything like that. In the middle of a meeting that might be getting heated, to say, let's pause.
Yes.
Let's all take a collective breath. I'm observing that we've got this going on. So let's reset.
Yeah.
Or we're all throwing great ideas in there. Let's pause for a second and find another way to approach this. I think that agility in the observe moment makes you a fantastic leader.
Yeah.
I think it guides the conversation better. It's more effective. If I realize I'm getting frustrated, if I realize someone at the table feels left out, if I feel like I forgot the person on my virtual who's joining into a hybrid meeting, that observe moment and that pause and intentionality is not only great modeling, but just a great practice to make people feel connected and included.
Well, every time when an instructor or an audience member sometimes will come in with like, hey, I noticed that, there's a powerful reveal.
There is.
Yeah. So I love the agility. It's almost like the observe lets us pull the bowstring back and like aim true to then, keep going.
So something that's important to talk about in the SPOT framework, we talk a lot about giving and receiving effective feedback.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we've done an entire live stream about feedback, but remembering that
we could do so many more.
But in the observe moment, that's kind of your feedback place to say, say what you saw. That's what Steve tells us to do. Just say what you saw.
Yeah.
Because if I try to deep read into it, if I try to go, 15 layers under the surface, I've gone too far. I just need to say what I saw and do it with grace. And that'll get us a long way in terms of feedback loops. And something I always coached on when I worked with students, when you're giving feedback, is the feedback sandwich.
Oh, yes.
Of start with something positive.
Yeah.
Give critical feedback or constructive feedback, and then finish on a compliment. So in our observe moment, in our feedback cycles, that's something that you can put in practice as you're working with someone. I saw that you really stepped up and I appreciated it. Here's how I would prefer that to be handled, but I loved that you were proactive about it. That kind of like positive, constructive, positive.
Here's a good example. I might have a participant come up and join me in the exercise. And there's two things that we're trying to do. We've set up the exercise. In this case, present is play a game. And then our third moment is we have feedback. So the example from a recent session was, I noticed that you were very quick on your feet and there was almost no delay when ideas were coming to you. However, I could see that your facial expression stayed calm the whole time. And I wonder if you could get your facial expressions to match the quickness of your words.
That's good. Yeah.
So that's when, those are all fair things. There's not a judgment. I didn't say you're quick on your feet, you must have an extremely high IQ, right? It could be, it could not be. It could be they're just quick on their feet. I didn't say your facial expressions are more neutral and you look pissed off.
Right.
Sometimes that can happen. I just said your facial expressions are neutral.
Or I'm gonna need more affect from you.
Oh, right. What I'm here on time. What do you want from me? Exactly. So doing our best to say what we saw without judgment, without reading into it. And then letting the other person or the audience go deeper and comment is really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. So the observe matters, and it matters observing yourself, self-assessing, being self-aware, audience awareness, observing the audience, making adjustments. And we're not always going to get it perfect. I think that's really important to note too. So one of the things that we're taught when we're doing Game On is it's not about getting the laugh. It's not about making it the funniest, most epic skit of all time. it's about the learning and the takeaway.
Yeah.
So some of that is being self-observant of like, no, I'm trying to ham this up a little bit too much and we're starting to lose some of the meaning.
Yeah.
So we as a Game On instructors have to adjust too. And sometimes we have to stop the presentation and be like, well, let's reset, let's start over.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing because we're focused on the outcome. We're focused on the tie back moment when we're being observant of ourselves and others.
Which is actually where we're going to.
Yeah.
But I want to observe something because Caitlin, you had a comment in there about the feedback sandwich. Yes. Take that, run with it. It is great. It's a very helpful way to deliver candor.
And Katie's going to let me hear all about the feedback sandwich. Katie is one of my rockstar friends.
Yes, rockstar friends on the feed. That's awesome. Okay, so we're getting to the finale of this live stream and the final moment of our SPOT framework.
Yeah, so the last piece is our tie back. So we need to put a bow on it.
Yeah.
When we finish something, we want to leave people with something tangible, practical that they are going to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, if we leave the meeting with 45 bullet points, that's difficult.
Nope.
So how can we, when we're wrapping up a presentation, when we're wrapping up a meeting, give really tangible and practical takeaways for people?
One of the techniques that we've come up with is having a conversation around good to know, fun facts and ideas, and translating that into good to do.
Yep.
So what are you actually going to do? So like there was a time in Deloitte where we were talking with some amazing partners and they were giving like sleep tactics.
Yeah.
And they're like, you need more sleep. Okay, great
Sounds
to know.
great.
I am aware. I have 2 kids. Yeah. But good to do was like, try not to let your cell phone hit you in the face. Like put it down 30 minutes before bed.
Exactly. Or like eliminate all the light from your room as
Yes.
a practical standpoint. So we're not telling someone you should get 8 hours of sleep. Thank you. I know that. But here's some strategies to get you better sleep, whether that's 8 hours, 3 hours, whatever you're able to get.
And when we're talking about teamwork and communication, some of the good to do's are leave space for teamwork in your meetings. Leave space for it, typically at the top.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're like, oh, we're out of time for teamwork. See you later, guys. Work independent. That's not as good. So leave a moment for it. We did it today.
Yeah.
And then for communication, a good to do is use additional opportunities not just during, post. How do you like add to the communication so things are clear?
Yeah. And I mean, we gave you some tangible good to do's throughout this too. So give yourself 15 minutes before a meeting. If you can do more than that, excellent.
Good.
Instead of just saying prepare for your meeting, put an hour time block before your meeting so that you have time to prepare. Make it really tangible. It's kind of like the SMART goals.
Yes.
It has to be measurable. It has to be, I forget the exact acronym.
Achievable.
Achievable.
Yeah.
So make sure it's something really tangible and measurable as far as your takeaways from a meeting. If I have everyone leave and be like, pursue sales leads, that's pretty general.
Okay. Do you want me to pursue 10?
Do
100?
15,
Do you
100?
want it tomorrow or
Yeah.
next month? Is this 2023?
Let's reach out to 5 government contacts. That's a tangible goal.
Yeah.
That's something that's a good tangible takeaway. So as you're wrapping up, whatever kind of presentation it may be, giving people some tangible takeaways can make a huge difference in how they leave that meeting. It makes it memorable. It can make it more meaningful if I know exactly what you want from me. Because how many of us have ever left a meeting and been like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do next.
And then we get into like one of those email chains, which is like, not as good.
I thought you didn't hear what I heard. Oh dear.
Okay.
It keeps everyone on the same page too, I think is nice. If it's succinct and to the point, like everyone knows what's expected.
Okay. So let me try to create a tie back, a takeaway right now, off of this live stream. The next high stakes meeting or presentation you give, my encouragement is for you to bullet point it out, somehow get it in writing, and then figure out what is your S. How are you setting up the point of your presentation? What is your P? What is the core content that you need to convey? Where are you leaving space to observe the energy in the room and how your people are reading it, answer questions, and what will you make your clear takeaway, your clear call to action that you want the other people to do?
That's really good. And the only thing I would add to that is if you have a deck for the observe piece, because the observe can be kind of tricky if it's not something you do as a regular practice. If you're working from a deck, actually build in a slide that breaks you up.
That says pause
says
here.
Pause or questions or insights.
That's smart.
Something like that. Because like if you have like a 20 page slide deck, throw in 2 spots where questions, insights, whatever that might be. Observations.
Go deeper. Yeah.
So something like that, like build in those really intentional moments. Because I think that of the 4, if I think about it, that one to me is probably the one that doesn't come as organically.
You know, every week we have a song of the week. And this week it's Stronger by Kelly Clarkson. And I like it's a power anthem. First of all, she can wail.
It is.
She's
wail. Amazing.
But something just happened right now that we didn't plan for, which I think is cool. Kelly Clarkson's song is all about what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But Erin, when you yes-anded my takeaway and you got even more specific, it wasn't what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's when you have help. It makes you stronger.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Thank you for receiving it that way.
Yes.
And the thing too, because I asked, so Jason, who is our awesome director of brand innovation, I said, let's talk about the song Stronger a little bit, where we're infusing that into this conversation. Not every presentation goes perfectly. We've talked about that a little bit already. We had some tech glitches that happened here. Live. It's real. And those things happen. And grace is one of those things that we hope wraps around every presentation. But just remember, it's not always going to go perfectly. Nothing needs to go perfectly. It makes you human. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And you always have an opportunity to learn from it and improve next time.
Oh, so good.
So that's,
I hope you have that song thumping. Royalty issues, we can't play it here, but Kelly Clarkson, we support you.
We do.
Yes,
absolutely.
And we are so grateful, Katie, for joining, for commenting in, for everybody else who's catching the live stream on a weekly basis. It's some of the funnest work we get to do together.
And we are here every Thursday at 11:30. So we would love for you to join individually if you've got a team and want to huddle around a computer. But if the time doesn't work for you, you can always watch it later.
On YouTube,
on LinkedIn, on Facebook. So just make sure you're following us across all those platforms. Make sure you're signed up for the newsletter. And we hope to see you next Thursday at 11:30 Eastern.
Woo-hoo! That's what we call game on.
Game on.
Spot on. Is that what we should do this week?
We're spot on today.
All right. Bye, everybody.